Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. On the program today, we are looking at the standardization of products and services, as well as processes and practices. The agency tasked with this responsibility is the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, the BSJ. On set with me is Executive Director Hopeton Heron. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Ms. Calvo.
So good to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, so the BSJ is celebrating 50 years.
Indeed.
Yes, we're going to be talking about that a little later.
Okay.
But before, tell me about your functions, your role and functions have changed a little bit. Tell us about that.
Indeed. In the beginning, there was the Jamaica Bureau of Standards. Over the years, the Bureau has changed to conform to global trends, which tries to establish a national quality infrastructure. So our accreditation body came out and it became JANAC. Then our certification body came out and it became the National Certification Body of Jamaica. Then recent times, to 2016, the National Regulatory and Compliance Body, or the NCRA, was formed. So those four organizations now form the National Quality Infrastructure. It conforms to the National Quality Policy that was tabled in the House 2 months ago.
Yes. So then what then is the BSJ doing?
Okay, so the BSJ is left with standardization. So it deals with standardization, metrology, and conformity assessments. Meaning conformity assessments, meaning testing, calibration, and we do training. So we prepare industry players to have standard products that are good for local and international markets. So when the world looks at Jamaica, they see that it has a national quality infrastructure, it has accreditation, it has certification, the regulatory arm is well up and running. We have standardization, we have metrology, and we have testing.
All right, so talk to me about your role in standardization, because I know that you don't go on and test and so on anymore, do you? Well, we'll come to that. Tell me about your role in standardization.
Well, for standardization, you want to develop products that are going to be used by the market. So the request for standardization comes from the users of products. We also look at internationally to see what products are going. And for products where the standards have been developed, you really adopt those standards if it can conform to Jamaican conditions. If it cannot conform to Jamaican conditions, we adapt it, meaning we put some Jamaican application codes into it so that it works. And for products that are just Jamaican, we develop the standards. So for standard development, we try to get a very wide-based stakeholder representation. So we form what is called a technical committee, which has on it technical persons, the common man, academia, and all the other science and technology and business representative on that technical committee. And they deliberate and come up with a standard which is outlined. The format for the standard is outlined. Once the standard is developed, it goes out as a draft for consultation. And we again listen to our stakeholders to refine it. When it gets back to some final stage, then it goes for the approval process, which goes to the Standards Council, the ministry, get gazetted, and then it becomes a standard that you can get from our Technical Information Center, the TIC.
Right. So we no longer come to you if we encounter like some blocks that are not doing what they're supposed to do, or ketchup that is too runny. We don't come to you about those issues anymore.
You can come to us, but the agency that is set up to deal with these things is the Compliance and Regulatory Agency. This is a National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, actually. They are set up. They are still on the property. They have a different address, but they are still on the property of it was actually removing the regulatory division of the BSJ
Okay.
into that division, right?
So this company now, or branch, or agency,
authority, yes,
is does all the regulatory work.
All the regulatory and compliance work. So they will do the sampling from the shelf. They will take it in for testing. They will get the results from our labs, and they will take the regulatory action that is necessary.
So, you know, we Jamaica still thinks that you go out and do all this testing.
Indeed.
Yes.
So we are trying to get that message out, that in fact the regulatory and compliance arm is now quite different from the Bureau of Standards, because we now focus on standard development, we focus on training, we focus on testing and compliance, and we have a client services program where we invite entrepreneurs, manufacturers, exporters to come into our doors. If you are developing a product and you want some chemical tests done, some microbiological tests done, some weights and measures tests done, some mass tests done, you can get that kind of service through our client service program. And if you need to use a standard, we can guide you into the appropriate standard that is good for your product development. So that when you are completed your product is good for local trade, your product is good for international trade, and you won't have much problem in getting into markets, because it would have conformed to World Trade Organization rules, it would have conformed to ISO rules, ASTM rules, that's a standard body that is internationally recognized. And so we are well intertwined with all of these organizations. We converse regularly to keep abreast with standard development globally.
Good. So let's talk some more about the ISO, as you mentioned just now, when we come back. But we're going to take a break now, and we come right back with more discussions.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We continue our discussion with Executive Director Hopeton Heron. He's from the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, the BSJ. Now, before the break, we were talking about ISO, International Standards Organization. What is the relationship between yourself and ISO?
Well, ISO is an international standards organization. They have member countries all across the world. They develop standards. That's their role. They develop standards. And they make these standards available to member states and, of course, whoever requires these standards. Right. Now, what the BSJ has done, we have used these standards to make offerings of training in the particular standards developed by ISO. So it's our portal, but we use the ISO standards for training.
Tell me a little bit more about the training that BSJ does.
We do a lot of training in food safety, in good manufacturing practice, in quality assurance, in calibration of service industries, and sanitation and pest control. So those kind of training can be got from the Bureau. We have established our Quality Institute, is what we call our training platform, where people can enter our facilities and get training.
How does one access the training, and who can access the training?
Anybody from industry can, and you can come into our offices. You could send through our website, through our social media, in whatever way you access the Bureau. we could direct you to the training.
Yes.
Right?
Talk to us now about your support to businesses as it relates to product development.
Yes, we have established this client services window that if you are developing a product and you need to understand what are the components in it, you can approach the Bureau to do chemical testing for you, microbiological testing for you. You can get familiar with the labeling standards, the packaging standards, or the weights and measures to ensure that when you put a particular weight on your product, it is actually the weight, because we can facilitate you to verify that. So we use our laboratories to facilitate that kind of product development.
Right. So as it relates to labeling, would you like teach people or show people or train people as it relates to how to label the products?
Indeed.
Yes.
And the information, the minimum information and the maximum,
Yes.
more minimum information that needs to be on the labels. And this is to meet a standard. In other words, the standard declares
Yes.
what are the minimum standards for labeling.
Yes, because sometimes we go to supermarkets and we see some products, you can't really label them in different languages.
Yes, right.
And that's something you used to do, but you no longer do that, right?
Well, what would happen is if the product does not meet the standard as outlined in the standard, the regulator, which is now the NCRA, is obliged to remove such a product. But they will talk to this more than I can. They are the regulators.
Yes.
But that system is in place.
Right. And what about pharmaceutical and aviation and so on? Yes.
Similar.
Similar. All right. Okay, great. The BSJ is celebrating 50 years of service to Jamaica. Tell me about some of your milestones.
Yeah. Okay, the BSJ started out as the Jamaica Bureau of Standards. Over the 50 years, we have really evolved into 4 organizations. And this 4 organization conforms to what the WTO recognized as a national quality infrastructure. So whereas we used to do everything, now we have an accreditation body that is independent, does its own thing. We have a certification body that trains institutions and organizations quality. And then there is a National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, which is a regulatory arm that used to be the regulatory division of the Jamaica Bureau of Standards. Now the BSJ has been left with the development of standards, the Metrology Institute, which is the conformity assessments, which is the labs for testing, chemical testing, microbiological testing, weights, mass, volume.
Yes. Does that make you more efficient?
Indeed, because what has happened is that the services, the corporate services, is still shared by all the entities, maybe except JANAC. They all share common finance, HR, communication, and IT services, so that overhead for housing the Jamaica Bureau of Standards would still be there. And we are now focusing on the specialized areas.
Right.
So that is very good efficiency.
So you're not, say, a parent company?
No, not at all.
They're an entity of their own.
They are their own entity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to celebrate this 50 years of service?
Well, quite a number of things. On the 15th of July, we launch our 50th anniversary activities, and there are a number of things planned for the 50th, but I want to focus you on initiative we are taking. We are launching internship programs for 5 students representing
5
decades, right? These interns will come into our business and will be assigned to Science and Technology Division, the Standards Division, the Metrology Division, and will learn the ways of the Bureau, because it is a very specialized area, and the more we can build capacity in Jamaica, the better off we will be. So that is one aspect of the 50.
Yes, and these are tertiary level students.
Tertiary level students who will be interned at our.
And the information is already out?
The information is out. It will be repeated. It will be communicated, and I'm sure a very fair way of choosing these students will be
Yes,
established.
right,
Yes.
Yes. So 5 students are going to be able to do internship at the BSJ.
Yes.
And we'll hear more about that.
Yes.
Yes. So BSJ used to be, in my eyes, a consumer-oriented entity.
Yeah.
Where do we fall in all of this now?
We are, I wouldn't want to say more so, because it means that maybe we were not. We are just as much consumer-oriented as we are, because we are ensuring that the consumer gets the best product, the best standard. In other words, we are setting the standards, and we are setting the quality criteria that the products that goes out will meet the customer's needs. Yes. So we remain very customer-focused. We listen to our customers. Our customers are on our technical committees that writes the standards so that they benefit from any quality we put in.
Congratulations on your 50th year.
Thank you very much.
Best wishes for another 50.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Good, good. This has been Get the Facts with our guest, Hopeton Heron, Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards, Jamaica. To watch this program again, log on to our social media handle, YouTube/watch JIS, and stay connected via our website at jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I am Enthros Campbell. Take good care.